Hello everyone, I'm Ali Reza and here we are with another episode of our RPG API core and our node graph editor. Now, in previous episode we finished creating a graph, and if you recall, it created this graph and corresponding graph schema, and it assigned it to our node graph view. But if I close this guy and reopen it, well, I don't have any way of accessing my graph anymore. So that is why we have this second button, load graph, and it's time to implement it. Now in graph toolbar, previous episodes, we have this graph creation pop-up in it. And in our graph utility, we had finished creating the graph. Today, we are going for this open, okay, and this is our load graph method. So what should I call it? How should I call this? Well, I want our graph utility, graph utils dot load graph, and that is a method that I don't have yet. Okay, so load graph is one of those public static void methods in our graph utility, and it accepts nothing, nothing I said, and what it will do is open another file browsing dialogues, and then when we click a dialog, when we click a file, it will try to fetch the graph and graph schema. Okay, let's see how it will do. So we say string path equals to editor utility dot open file panel. The title would be load graph. The path would be application dot data path. Take a look at Unity's coding API, because application path during the editor and the runtime is different. But I want to add something to it. I will say node editor, because remember, our project is sitting inside, well, I have to add the boss here on top. So, and I will call it graph editor, not node editor anymore. So it's boss graph editor, and then after that we want to go into resources, okay, and then into our database folder. Then we want the extension of the file that we want to search for, and this is asset. Okay, let's just build and see what is going on here now. So if I go back to Unity, and if I hit this button, this is what we get. It goes inside Unity projects, well, looks for assets, and something's wrong here. It should have gone into assets, boss, editor graph. Let's see what is wrong. This didn't work, this part. So I will say debug.log, this for me, please. And build solution. So we get that. I forgot a forward slash. So I need a forward slash here. Okay. And here. So you will notice that up until the assets word here, before the boss, is application dot data path. And because I forgot that forward slash, it wasn't finding the folder, so it would go to the root. But now if I remove this part and save and build, let it load, and if I hit it, you see that it suddenly goes into my database and I see my graph or editor and graph. Okay, that was what I wanted right now. So after this, we want to check if string dot is null or empty, the path we simply return, meaning that we didn't select the file and we hit cancel there. Okay, so then we say int app path length equals to application.datapath.length. Simple enough. Then we say string final path equals to our path dot substring of app path length minus 6. So we keep the asset's name there. Okay. And then we say string name equals to final path dot substring of final path dot length, or no, last index of the forward slash plus 1. And I think, yeah, plus 1. Then let's debug.log the name so that you see what's going on. And here I will say debug.log final path. So you get the idea of what is going on here. And I need to build it. So I select my graph.asset, open. So I get assets. That was why I subtracted 6 from the application data. All the thing. Then inside this guy, I say find the last index of forward slash and move 1 forward and get the name. So it will become my graph.asset. Okay. After that, I say name equals to name dot substring of 0 comma name dot length minus 6. So I'm dropping the dot asset from the name, and then we say bool is schema equals to name dot contains the word schema. Because remember, when we are generating our schema, we are suffixing it with schema. Then we say if is schema, then we say name equals to name dot substring of 0 comma name dot length again minus 6. So we drop the schema word at the end. So now we are pure on the real graph name, not the schema graph. Okay. Then we say load graph, and that is an overload that I will write with the name. Okay. Now public static load graph with the string name and the string path that equals to database forward slash, and I will put an @ sign. Remember, I'm giving and it's void, sorry, void. So I'm giving the path as default here. Okay. So here I will say get graph of the name false and path. Then I will call it again, but this time say name plus schema through path plus editor /. Okay? Now, get graph. Void string. I will call it name. Bool is schema string path, and I will remove that non-implemented, and it equals to database / as default. So now we say if not is schema, we want to do something, and at the end we will return simply. Otherwise we want to do something else. So here we say if not a schema, var current graph equals to resources, not resource, that's my class, resources that load, and we will use this type as node graph, and the one thing that we want is path plus name, and I said plus, not equal. Okay? And why are you yelling at me now? Did I call it graph? Come on. Yeah, I call it graph. Okay. My notes are a bit different. So it says common.graph.graph. I can't use it like normal, I think. Okay, doesn't change. Okay. After that, we say if current graph equals to null, then I will have a handy method that says error message, that says a string.format there is no node graph with the name 0 and the name that we sent in, and then return. Okay, so that's that part. Then we say var current graph schema equals to resources that load, and this is graph schema. Okay, and this is path plus name. And then we say if current graph schema equals to null, then we say the same thing actually, but no node, no schema graph with the name. And finally, now we want to again do this stuff. Boom. Okay. So we find the node editor instance and we set it with our current graph schema. Now, I'm debating here. My notes never return the current graph. Actually, I'm not using it at all. I could simply comment this guy. But if I say return this guy here and move it down, and then say, hey, change type to get graph. No. Actually, here at the end, I will say return current graph. And not here, actually in here. And yeah, now I need to, what's the problem with you? No, not you. Current graph. And change type to graph, and now it yells that I need to return stuff. So return null, and at the end, if it's not schema, if it's a schema, actually, I want to return null. Okay, so here I will say to graph, yeah, and it will work. So boom, import that. Okay, whatever. Stupid resharper. Okay, what did I do is just when I'm getting the graph for a schema, it means I'm working on editor. I don't care. But I want to be able to load a graph with a name inside the database path on the runtime, and that is when I'm using this section. So that's that part, okay? And yep, that would work. The other way around is that if I say current graph schema, and now I can change it to object. And it will work, but here I need to typecast this guy to the graph. Boom. Okay. That's a better approach now. Good. So the only thing remaining is writing this handy little utility class, and that is saying that error message. It's private string what did they call it? Body. Okay. And all it's doing, it's saying to editor utility dot display dialog with the title of error and the body that we sent in and the button. Okay, lazy guy. Yeah. So now if I build, we should be able to load our graph. So if I select my graph, open, there is no schema graph, blah. If I load this guy, there is no node graph, blah. But I get the schema. So it means that I just ruined something here. Yeah, obviously. No. Path / editor / the name schema. So let's comment this guy. And return this guy, and I will typecast this to object. Who cares? So build solution. It should work. So if I just select the graph, there's no schema graph with the name my graph schema. So what do I do is, well, we know that it's a schema, so we come here. Aha. Okay. Debug.log path, please. And yield, for God's sake. But it's loading it, you know, it's funny. So load graph, boom. So it's database / editor under resources. Database / editor. And I have one space there. Okay, that's the thing. Where is this guy? I forgot to put one space here. That's why. Now I shouldn't get that error there. That's the difference between my notes and here. I hated that non-spaced guy. And why it's still loading? God damn it. It shouldn't. Yeah, there we go. No errors anymore. Okay. So this part, let's see. It shouldn't assign it, but it should work. Yep, no errors. It goes into database, it fetches the graph, although you wouldn't see it because, yeah, I was loading it from before, but if I load now, yeah, it's working and not errors anywhere. Okay, so uncommented. No, what did I do? And shift and move it down. I don't care about getting the, no, actually go up. I don't care about getting this guy, and I want to have it back to this guy. Boom. So why are you yelling at me? Is never used. That was why it was commented. Okay, so everything should work now, and let's get rid of that debug. Build, come back. So if I hit this my graph, it should load the schema for me. And let's close this guy, pause, reopen it. If I open the schema again, there is no schema graph with the name my graph schema. There we go. Now why? Now why? Debug.log name. my graph. That's okay. So it says that, why are you doing this to me? Ah, this should become 7. Yeah, I have a space there. That was why. Okay. Because you may not noticed it, but take a look. Between this line, there is an empty space at the end. That was why. So if I select my schema now, my graph is schema. Okay, I stupidly destroyed something here. Ah, this is 6, this is 7. If it's a schema, remove that space from there. String manipulations, always hating it, but meh, there is no avoiding it. So there we go, no errors, and I got my graph. Okay, so I can load the graph itself and it will assign the schema, or I can load the schema and I get the node back from the methods, but at the same time I get the schema inside here. Cool. So now that we have loading the graph, let's do the unload graph because it's single line of code there. Honestly, not single line, but few lines. So this is unload graph. We say graph utils dot unload graph. So I will go on top of my private public static void unload graph. Here, first we want to get the window. Okay. After that, we say if window type does not equals to null. So if we have the window, actually, no. Actually, we can do this. Do that, but instead of this, send a null. Simple as that. So build, come back. It still gets my graph. Okay, we have the graph. We hit unload graph, and what's going on here? Why didn't you cooperate? Buzz, node graph, load, and unload. We don't care if the value is null or not. It should set it on that field. Did I put it on something derpy? Let's put some comments here. So here we are putting our new graph. Here we are putting our load graph. We are routing a separator, and here is unload graph, and we can confirm it by coming down here and saying debug.log unloaded. Unloaded, okay, but I call it, then I say unload graph, and it's not doing anything. Why is that? Man, that should work. Or I can say new empty. That's the same stuff, but it will have something in mind in that case. So load, okay, unload. Yeah, that would be the problem. So set it to null. I know what's going on. I know I'm derping. So graph work view. We are saying if it's not null, set it to that. Else, derp, the title equals to work view again. Boom. I can't believe I'm derping like this sometimes. Okay, clear. So we load the graph. Now, why are you not? Okay, clear. Load, unload. We say if current graph equals to null, debug.log null, and I should get tons of null now. I shouldn't get any more. So if I hit this, I don't get null. Graph schema, current graph, base view. The editor window. I'm sending in current graph schema everywhere. Interesting. So we know that we call it Is that the case? What's that now? Nah. Well, I can do something. But I don't like it. And I'm not getting any null reference exception anywhere. So I'm sure it is putting this guy, no, the value to object. Let me do something. I'm returning a bool. So in here, I can say debug.log that. Let's see if I get true or false. That part is working. And I'm getting true, so it's setting it, but it's not updating it properly. And I'm not even checking this guy to be null or not anywhere. So why isn't it working? Okay, this is bizarre because I added a single line at the end of my reflection util. I'm fetching back the value of this field on the instance, and if you look, it's returning null. So it really became null, but it's not updating it anymore. Interesting. So we know that part of the code is working actually. So this part is working. And we are successfully unloading the graph from our work view. And current graph is graph schema. Here it is. If graph does not equal null, then current graph equals graph. Well, we don't care about that, you know. Derp. So we load the graph, we unload the graph. Cool. So the thing was, inside our base view, inside update view, when we were assigning the current graph as graph, we were checking for null. So when we set it to null, basically we were not resetting it back to the null. We just remove this if graph does not equal null from there. I'm not sure why did I put it there. Meh. Okay. Whew. Interesting. But now you see how the debugging of this Boolean could become handy. Also, here is the thing, you can get the value of this field on this instance and see what's going on there. And that was nice debugging there too. So, the graph util code was correct. The thing that was not correct in base view was that null checking. Anyway, so in this episode, we were loading the graph. And you see that we have this method and we have this method. This method returns the graph, not the graph schema. The graph schema is being set automatically here, okay? But if you look, I'm time and time doing this guy, okay? So what? I want is to say private static void set window schema, and only thing I will get is an object that is value, and I will copy this guy from here to here, and I will change this to value. So now I can say set window schema to null. That will do. I will say set window schema to current graph schema. And again on top, I can say set window schema to current graph schema. That's a better approach, removing these guys. And I'm sure I will have more of these helpers when it comes to creating the nodes and assigning the nodes to the current schema. Anyway, until next episode, that we will continue our job with clear graph and delete graph. These two will come later, honestly. And by the way, we want a way to create nodes, but I want to finish the toolbar first. So we have the clear graph and delete graph to work on in next episode. Until then, have fun everyone. Bye-bye.